Hello.
Hi.
Interviewing a great artist that she's exhibiting in this BIA situation event. And I represent Gemma Garcia, who's the coordinator of the event. And I have a few questions that will help us to understand it and get to know the artist today. There'll be other artists too. So, here's one that's something interesting. What aspect of Joan Miro, his work, was most influenced you in your work?
Thank you, Yarrow. Well, hello everybody. Great question. All the questions are really good for the day. Firstly, I've got to say how nervous I always am to have to speak about my art in public. After having taught for 30 years in university and TAFE colleges, I can talk about art forever. But my own art is so involved with being in my own head. I've had 50 years of internal dialogue, and to then pick one or two words out to explain where I'm up to is really challenging. So I've made some dot points to help me get the right words. Otherwise I could waffle for 6 months and no one would have time for that. So my work is so deeply personal and internalized. I'm especially absorbed in the arena and discourse of urban ecology and cultural ecology. And urban ecology is really, I'm so interested in the effect of the built environment on us. And cultural ecology is like the human element of it all. Humans build our environment. Why don't we have it all soft and spongy? Could be a question. But urban ecology could also include flora and fauna, but cultural ecology is especially human focused. And I'm also dealing with the politics of encounter, of us coming across different aspects of the textures and the shapes and the patterns within our environment. We come across them, it's here all the time, and so I'm fascinated with aspects of that and the particularly unintentional designs that pop out to me. So it might, like where we are now, the gap between these two walls from certain different angles can become really interesting to me. And so at one angle is unintentional, the walkthrough is intentional, but the different ways of seeing it, and I might want to paint a strange angle of it. Then to be challenged out of my general trajectory and thinking channels, to think how could I get my works to respond to the wonderful Joan Miro. I've known his works all my life and I love him. But his works and mine appear to be so very different. And I've always enjoyed all the different aspects of him, being a polymath as he is.
Yeah.
I really love that he can be playful, he's very colourful, he can be dreamlike. There's so many aspects that one can respond to. And I also get his contempt for conventional painting methods. That has always fascinated me. But eventually, to answer your question more directly, Yarrow, I decided to employ the most recognisable elements of his style, and that is bright colours and his sense of playfulness, which I don't normally incorporate into my work, so that was a big challenge.
Well, you certainly answer all the questions.
That's only question number one.
You've got your challenges, your process, your color, and impression, and how do you share and relate your work with the Miro work. Can you say anything more about that? What's a life situation? What makes you live Miro?
I don't.
You don't live Miro.
No, I don't live Miro. I was challenged to see what aspects. So as I said, his bright colours and his playfulness were the two aspects that I wanted to relate to. Other artists in this exhibition have related to different things, like his recognisable symbols or his political passions, even his patterning. I wanted to go
for you.
Really, yeah.
How you put it together.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, because my works are usually so very heavy.
Yeah. Could you describe your creative process for the what you're doing in your artwork? What's your creative process?
I'll try.
Your best.
The built environment says so much to me about humanity and our era, because every era has different styles, different materials, different look. And in our cities, there's a real grittiness that happens. Our current era interests me how we choose to cocoon ourselves within these different spaces. There's a paving over of the natural world, and therefore that increases our disconnect with the natural world. And we're all aware of that, but I'm really interested in coming in, tuning in to find details around that. So my process is that I guess I wander around and notice things that we see pass by every day and don't necessarily take in all the time. So I take photos of random meeting points and textural planes and juxtapositions of these different materials, and see them as the potential for beginnings of compositions for my work. I work in oils and I call them industrial mixed media. So things that are discarded I'll often use as well. So to be authentic to this built environment, I like to mix in industrial materials like road-based crusher dust, glass shards, washed bricky sand, builder's sand, all sorts of materials that are of the environment to add to that experience. Therefore, it's industrial mixed media, not just any mixed media. And instead of calling it found objects, I like to think of it as discarded, things that have been thrown away, things that get blown into gutters. I'm like the bag lady. I go around picking up things, bringing them home and then sanitising myself. But I pick up things that are broken things, stuff in gutters. This time, in order to relate to Miro, I decided to go through my photos of places that I enjoyed photographing aspects of, and find ones that were really colourful. And so I have colours usually in the background underneath, inside my paintings, but not bringing them to the fore. So these couldn't be sort of more colourful in a way. And I wanted to have the colours be the starting point, and also ones that had intriguing patterns at the same time. And they were only finished when each one's personality was resolved. So I'll talk a bit more about them in a minute when we get through. But yeah, that was how it reflected my voice, was to fuse it. Yeah.
So it's actually, as you're talking, it sounds to me that Miro is a kind of abstract painter and artist, and you're relating also your abstract artist. So there's that link.
Totally.
As I see it, yeah,
yes.
Right, thank you.
He might be surreal,
and
I'm not, but I'm abstract,
That's
and I can relate
That's
to
correct.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
about challenge. You mentioned a little bit about the challenge you get, your photographs, your colors.
Yeah.
Is the other challenges that you see in relating to your work?
Well, I like the fact that he's Mediterranean. I relate very much to the Mediterranean heritage, identifying with the Iberian and Latin culture generally, because I have that in my background as well. So I'm interested in his, I read a phrase about him, existential purpose, what was it? Purposefulness and authenticity. I really like that he steps out of the box and works with that. So I think my paintings work with existential. I'm a conceptual artist that paints and performs, and so the ideas come first, and then the designs work in with them. So yeah, his existential purposefulness and authenticity, the way he thinks out of the box, his passion and playfulness rather than being childlike, playful. So I've tuned into, these are the most whimsical works I've ever done, very playful. My artistic voice is expressed through painting and performance, and I like to provoke through my works, and he provokes in his work. So this time, these are the four, you can probably only see three from the camera's point of view, but there's one more over there. But these ones are uncharacteristically, for me, jazzy and cheeky and whimsical. So I've really enjoyed lighting up.
What medium material you have worked with in the preparation, the existential why? And I'm sorry, exhibition and why. What medium and why you work with this? You mentioned a little bit about that.
Yeah, I had mentioned it, so with the industrial materials. Well, this time I wanted to emphasize the original locations that these images have come from, and wanting to play with and echo their individual stories, which gives them outer and inner meanings. So, for instance, with Artificial Breeze, and I also found it very interesting trying to, I don't usually have poetic titles as an abstract artist, I just call things what they are. But because of his era and what he's on about, I got more poetic with my titles. So this one's called Artificial Breeze, and I always use oil paint as my basis. But in this one, I've included synthetic turf, or fake grass, actual barrier flag bunting material, mirror shards, and flywire netting. So, to me that's humorous. I hope that people who know me would find these paintings make them chuckle. With this one here, that's the yellow one, so I'll use that one. So many materials in that one. Collage painting. That includes calcium carbonate to build up the thickness, wash builder's sand, fly wire, and obviously high-vis fabric and cigarette butts.
That's right.
I've even used the yellow part there for people who need to know, is the lid from a honey pot cut up. So you can still see a bit of the lid from that. And I've used satin fabric, and I've used metal rods as well. And the one at the end, that's called Harlequin Wall, and that's used polyurethane utility mat and felt scraps. So choosing what to use is always a fun thing in itself.
How do you see the influence of Joan Miro, abstract type of work, in a contemporary art situation?
That's
Because
huge.
you are contemporary.
Yeah, I'm definitely contemporary.
You are the contemporary.
Well, so that's an enormous question.
Yeah.
How do I see his influence on contemporary style? Going, well, I don't know. It's been huge. So his iconic works, often referred to as abstract surrealism, laid the groundwork for much of modern art. That's all I can say about him. Like, I'm not an authority on him. And my work is not surreal, but it is abstract. Ideas and interpretation motivate me. So rather than being inspired by internal things, which he often was, things that are imagined or dreamed up, I create compositions from the world around and then translate them, hopefully to trigger other people's imaginations, so that they may become, so that the paintings, the works may become more than their original selves, because I love that the audience completes a work. The audience brings all their information and interests and associations, and they complete a work. So, what I mean by they become more than themselves, in Harlequin Wall, for instance, it's no longer simply a clear pane of glass looking out a bus window onto a brightly coloured wall, but the painting then becomes a viewing frame of and in itself, and it's looking through to a slice of world outside. So because the coach window, not that anyone really has to know this, but the coach window had mesh to stop it being too bright, you know. As a screen, I've created my own screen looking out on the wall, and then the big slash of paint going across is us speeding by, so you've got the movement. Or where a patch of lawn, say like in Artificial Breeze, which is normally seen as a static block of green, can also become a leaping point for demonstrating movement. So I cheekily called it Artificial Breeze because the little flags are waving in the breeze and you can get reflections out of the shadows. So I've played with that, with having glass shards in there, or with collage painting. Even when there's a corner of a construction building site, as this was, it can sing out to us of its familiar, basic, unaesthetic crassness, which usually it is, just a boring little corner somewhere. And yet, glaringly, it screams jigsaw design with its invaluable utilitarian randomness. So I found that fun.
What challenge do you encounter with creating your artwork for the exhibition, for this exhibition?
I love this question. All the artists in this show are really challenged because it takes you out of what you normally do.
Yeah.
And every new work of mine is a challenge anyway, because I'm not trying to do a rut.
Yeah.
How to convey what I see and feel, how to convey what I see and feel is my challenge every time. And I hope to spark interested responses, of course. In this situation, how to incorporate high colour, which is more unusual for me, and yet remain true to my urban exploratory vision. I wanted to lighten up. So it's been really cheeky and really fun to let the bright colours come to the fore. And I've used more additional materials than usual. You know, it's usually the sparse planes of the urban environment, walls and floors and things like that, which are just sort of sparse, just with a little bit of grunge flicked here and there, but this time it's all over. But the most fabulous challenge that I had was how to stick these things to oil paint, and I discovered the best glue in the universe. There's a glue better than super glue. It's called future glue, and it's stronger than super glue.
Wow.
And I got the gel version, and the gel version means that you can work on a vertical surface and it won't slip.
Wow.
You do not have to clean. I sound like an advertisement now, but you don't have to clean the surface first. It can go onto greasy, oily things, and nothing's come off. So the biggest challenge was how to glue onto oil paint. And that was heaven. So I really enjoyed it, and thank you for the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me in the exhibition.
For your participation here.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you very
lovely.
much.
Lovely.
Do you have any questions?
Any question from the audience?
How long does it take?
To do a painting?
Yeah.
On average, a painting can take me 3 months. But these didn't. The one you can't see probably, over there, the disembodied glyphs, that took me more than 3 months. That was a very difficult one to resolve. These ones, because they're more graphic, I knew how I wanted to end them. Usually when I'm starting, I have some sort of design in mind, and then how am I going to interpret it? What bits am I going to emphasize? What bits am I leaving out? But with these ones, I knew I wanted to put everything in, and it was just a matter of which materials and how to stick them. So they probably took me maybe 4 weeks each, something like that.
When a painting takes longer, what is it that takes that time? Is it the idea stage, or is it the execution? What is it that makes it a longer process?
That's interesting. It's a combination of everything. First of all, oil paints take a while to dry. So I had to make sure these were all finished a month before the exhibition, so I wasn't hanging wet paintings. So it's part of that, but I always work on more than one at once. So as one's too wet and slippery, or my mind is sick of that one. So I've always got 2, 3, maybe even 4 works that I'm working on simultaneously. And I don't sketch beforehand. I'm the only person I know who doesn't do that. What a great noise. It's the wind, I think. I think the wind's howling through the building.
Is that the wind?
I think so.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I don't sketch beforehand. I go straight into my undercolours and the undertextures. I know the construction that I want to, construction of the design, I know where I want to start. So I go with all that first. And then it's a matter of how to bring the colours out and how to balance it. And if I want, say, a thin line, do I want that as a painted line, a drawn line, a piece of string, 2 pieces of string, a piece of rubber, maybe a line of bus tickets? Like, how do I want that line to be? So I will sit and contemplate it in my great-grandmother's armchair in my studio, and then work on something else and let it process. So, yeah, they usually take a good 3 months. I haven't really analysed it.
And out of the works that you did for this exhibition, do you have a favourite, and why?
Lovely question.
Oh.
They're like my children, so they're my babies, and because each one has a different attitude. Yeah, that's the cheekiest one, the collage painting. Or maybe it's not cheeky. Maybe this is the cheekiest one.
That's the cheeky, yeah.
Artificial breeze could be the cheekiest one.
Yeah.
Disembodied glyphs is mysterious. That's like something that's been dug up from an archaeological dig, and that's why those glyphs, those symbols, are mysterious. It came from an aged road sign that I couldn't read, that I was passing by. I passed by it ages later and finally read it, which made me laugh like crazy. So it's a road sign saying hump, but you can find that for yourself. I probably like Harlequin Wall best because it's the most elegant. That's my it's quite elegant to me. It comes back to the grain. Anyway, thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yarrow.